Right then, let's begin. So what we're going to do is talk about how to basically get results through nutrition and kind of go over the intricate parts of it, all right? First off, I'm going to try and talk about who I am. So for those that actually have no idea who I am, I'll go over a little bit of me. So I was in the army 10 years, trained battalions of people, so we're talking hundreds at the time. The fittest of the fittest, the broken, all sorts, people with amputations, anything and everything I was coaching. And I've been doing coaching now full time for about 7 years. So that's towards the end of my career in the army and now, obviously. These are some of the qualifications I got. Let me just add in Sarah. Okay, but basically qualifications are just certificates. They don't mean anything. They don't mean shit, really. But yeah, basically I've been eating for 33 years now, so I'm quite good at talking about food. And that's me in a nutshell. I'm not going to talk any more about myself, okay? If I can jump across. There we go. Okay. So, to get this result, I went really low on calories. I went down to 1,400 calories, okay? Now, for me, that was over half my calorie intake. A typical calorie intake, I was about 3,000 calories. So I dropped it quite low. And the reason being is I had a few weeks to basically get from one to the other. I decided about 3 or maybe 4 weeks out, I decided before the photo shoot challenge. And I dropped my carbs down to 60 grams a day with 250 grams of protein a day. Now, for those people that say they struggle to get their protein intake in, I challenge you, because I have 1,400 calories, which is what most of you guys will be around, and 250 grams of protein. Now, I don't think anyone in here would be eating more than 200 grams of protein a day. So it's doable. You just got to understand how to do things, okay, guys? So that's the reason why I put that picture up, not to show off. So what I want to say before I move on is just because someone can get in shape doesn't mean they can get you in shape, okay? So this picture means nothing to me in terms of showing you what I can do for you, okay? Okay, so what we're going to cover today then. How does the body get energy from foods? So briefly, we're not going to go too deep in this because it's a huge rabbit hole. What are macronutrients and the uses? What factors influence body weight? Current diets out there, there's a load of them. What nutrition approach to take? We're going to talk a little bit about the fat loss pyramid of priority, which is great, courtesy of Ross Edgley. Calculate your needs. So we're going to go through how to work out your calories and your splits for weight loss goals. Talk about refeeds, fasting, holidays, nights out, what to do when it comes to retaining your results or progressing with your results and having these. Fitness, food and training, and then finally we'll talk about application, okay? So let's get into this. What I want you to do now, guys, look at these pictures. I want you to write down, right, a rough estimate of how many calories you see in each picture, in each hand and in each bowl, okay? I'm going to flutter through these, so don't dwell on it too much, okay? So I'm going to go on to the next slide in about 5-10 seconds. Okay, now on to the next slide. So the Volvic bottles of water, we've got one which is with water and one's a strawberry flavored water. And then we've got Starbucks, which is amazing, white Americano and a flat white, okay? So just write down how many calories you reckon each one are, or which one you reckon is more calorific. And I'm going to move on to the next slide in 5 seconds. Okay, the next slide, guys, is the Solero and the Classic Magnum. And then we got toast with toast with butter on it. Okay. Now let's not get into questions of what kind of butter it is, salted, unsalted. Whether it's can't believe it's not butter. But just write down how many calories you reckon are in each picture for the relevant items. Okay, and that will be the last one. Don't worry, we're not going to spend the next hour doing this because you know it could get boring. At the end of this, then I'm going to show you how many calories in each thing. Each item, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where you were in regards to how close or how far away. Okay, so moving on. How does the body get energy from foods? This is going to be a brief look at how foods are processed and some of the myths, okay? Potentially myths. I can't remember if I wrote them in, actually. So your cells require a constant source of energy to carry out the metabolic tasks, okay? Basically living, yes? So whether you're asleep, awake, exercising, reclining on the couch, if you're reclining your posh, your cells require a constant source of energy to carry out their metabolic tasks. So even down to breathing, everything you do, right, whether you know about it or not, whether it's if you've got to think about it or not, is going to require some form of energy, okay? So when's the best time of day to eat? Basically when you're hungry, right? There's no breakfast is the best meal of the day, or the most important meal of the day. Breakfast is the first meal you eat after you've, well, in the new day. So if you don't have breakfast until midday or mid-afternoon, that is still classed as breakfast because it's breaking the fast, okay? But basically, best time of day to eat is when you're hungry. There's no point forcing the food into you. Right, moving on. So the science behind it, guys. I love this. So when I did the Shredded by Science course, this is one of the slides. Talk about the energy systems, okay? A brief summary of it. As you can see, lots of big words, lots of arrows, and lots of letters, basically. it's crazy, okay? So we're not going to go into it like this, because this is far too deep, especially for a Sunday morning. But this is just to kind of highlight what kind of stuff is going on below the surface of your skin, okay? Just for you to have a bit of energy to get off the sofa and go to the toilet. Okay, so the fat loss pyramid of priority. This, like I said, is courtesy of Ross Edgley. If you haven't got his book, guys, you can get his book, and this is in his book as well. He talks about it. So we're just going to go over this because I think it's an amazing tool and a good reference point, okay? So this is an illustration of how to focus your efforts when looking to lose fat, right? The lower parts make up the biggest difference, right? The highest parts make up a meaningful contribution to fat loss, but not as much as the lower parts, okay? And only if the foundations have been laid. Now, the top part is forever evolving, meaning it depends on your goals, depends on what your priorities are, that will be forever changing. So this is great for those that sidestep the pastry stalls to avoid catching a calorie. You know what I mean? When you walk past the shop and you're like, I can't even look at that because I'll get fat. So what we're going to do then is look at flavor. Flavor is the most important part when it comes to dietary adherence and food, basically. So if it tastes like crap, you're not going to want to eat it. After that, then we've got fuel. So a little bit of a brief history on the calorie. The calorie was invented, as far as we know it, in 1825, all right? Now, a lot of you will be like, well, we've been eating longer than that, but the calorie, it was used as a means of defining how much energy is contained in fuel. So this was back in the day of steam trains, all right? So they wanted to know this for fuel efficiency. So 1 calorie is the amount of heat needed to elevate by 1 degree centigrade 1 kilogram of water. I know, I'm blowing your mind already. It's crazy, isn't it? But when applied to the body, there's so much going on that we can't even track or measure or understand yet. So it's a great means, a tool, but it's not 100% reliable by looking at how many calories you burn, for example, or taking in calories in your body. Because I could have someone exactly the same height, weight, age, sex as me, next to me, eating exactly the same food as me, and the outcome for that person would be totally different as it is for me, because there's so much more things we don't quite understand yet when it comes to the body. Wow, went deep quick there, didn't we, guys? So next we got food function, okay? So we take much more than just calories from food. Yes, you can lose weight on a shit intake. You'll get ill quite quick though, okay? So the food, there's much more to it than just calories. So macros and micros are essential to health, okay? So this is where function comes into it, the food function, all right? Next, we have got fitness. So what is the best form of exercise to burn fat? Basically, any and all of them, okay? For fat loss purposes, your training has one key role, and it's to create a calorie deficit. So yes, some have been shown to have different benefits, but the key here is adherence. The training method doesn't matter. Consistently training does, rather. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. So there's plenty of types of training. You've got high intensity interval training, strength training, low intensity training. The list goes on, okay? What you got to do is find that type of training you enjoy doing. Because basically, if you don't enjoy doing it, you're not going to do it for a long period of time, are you? And that's going to elicit the biggest calorie deficit for you over time. Next, we have the most important part, fun. All right, so breaking the rules of food. Chocolate flavored fat loss isn't hard, okay? It is 100% possible to eat 200 grams of the richest, finest dark chocolate every single day, every week, without your body fat going up. But not all chocolate is created equal, okay? Caramel-filled bars have a different effect on the body to that of 85% cocoa chocolate. So the dark chocolate, there's so many more benefits to eating that than just a Mars bar, okay? So it's not a case of there's the same amount of calories in that bar as that, because the dark chocolate, the 85% stuff especially, is amazing for the body. So yes, you could definitely eat chocolate every single day and enjoy it and still lose body fat. Trust me, guys, I eat sweets basically every day of my life. I love sweets, sweet tooth. Right then. So before I go on, does anyone have any questions? Just unmute yourself if you've got any questions, guys, and talk up, okay?
What the kind of exercise that we do, what's that called?
Exercise we do in what? In the gym?
So, yeah, well, yeah, in the gym and online, you know, yeah.
In the gym, we do strength training, but there is a cardio element to it as well.
Okay.
Does that answer that question? Anyone else got any questions?
Joe, when it comes to flavour, because I think that's the biggest thing I get my head around, is that to me healthy food is not got that much flavour. What do you do to kind of make it more appealing?
I would first argue with the fact that healthy food doesn't have much flavour. But if you're thinking like rice and chicken, then yes, season the crap out of it. Use seasoning, because there's very little calorie intake from seasoning, and it'll give you a lot more flavour to your food, okay? And that's basically where all food's flavour comes from. It comes from some form of input of seasoning or sugar or fats, because, you know, the unhealthier foods, the more calorific foods rather, have a lot more flavouring in terms of like, well, we're not going to go down the route of chemicals and all that, but fats add a lot of flavour to foods and sugar. Does that answer that question?
It does, yeah. I'm just thinking when it comes to seasoning, obviously you don't want to go over the top with salt and things like that. So you're talking more like chili powders or something
all
like
sorts, yeah. You've got all sorts. You've got coriander, you've got cumin, you've got all those herbs and spices that you can use to season foods. There's like a plethora of seasonings you could use, not just salt and pepper.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. You know, you've got fuel, obviously, like lower parts make the biggest difference.
Yes.
And I know you say that realistically, I know we're going to talk about macros in a sec, but like if we split up our macro, I'm trying to like change my mindset about food to be like, it's my fuel as opposed to like, oh, I'm going to have a lasagna tonight because I fancy it. I'm trying to make it so it's like fuel in my body.
Yeah.
So does it, like, I'm a bit like torn with the whole like creating calorie deficit, but then fueling my body correctly for what I want to do.
Okay. So this would come more under fitness, because you need to look at what your priority is. So it's the same as myself with training for the Ironman. I need to look at my priority. Is it fat loss or is it performance?
Okay. So does that mean then, obviously it's going to be an increase in calories because you want your performance to be better?
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm going to put on weight?
Well, you've got to bear in mind you're going to be exercising more as well. So your calories are going to increase with exercise.
Okay.
And you don't want to be in you could still be in a deficit and perform amazingly well, but you don't want to be in such a harsh deficit where you're seeing 2-3 pound loss every week.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And just trying to like marry up the fuel and fitness thing. That's all.
Yeah, no.
But-
But like you said, we'll talk about macros and the splits and everything like that in a minute.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, guys, before I move on? No. Okay, cool. I'll move on. So I believe we're going to talk about, oh yeah, alcohol. Alcohol is a great thing, isn't it? Yes. So in moderate consumption, okay? Moderate. I'm not talking about excessive amounts now. We're not talking about a night out where you guys go and you're crawling back through town or anything like that. But alcohol, we'll talk about macros a little bit more in a minute, but it contains 7 calories per gram. So it's as close second to fat as, well, fats are 9 grams and then carbs and protein are 4. So 7's bang in the middle, basically. So this is why it can lead to weight gain. But not all alcohol is bad, right? A glass of red contains many great nutrients, not to mention the anti-inflammatory or antiviral properties. And we need to understand that the body needs foods for much more than just the energy and calories. So like a glass of gin and tonic, for example, being distilled, so gin being distilled means it's lower in sugar compared to other drinks, which is great as sugar is readily stored as fat by the body. Now, we won't go into the meaty details today, but I'll say this. If you are fit and healthy and deny yourself that glass of red with your friends just because of the calories, then maybe you need to reconsider that, all right? You've got to enjoy yourself, guys. But that's all I'm going to say about alcohol for now. And we move on, I think. All right, macros. Perfect timing. So macros, all nutrients are interdependent within the body, right? Macros and micros will all impact each other in more ways than we will probably ever know. Inevitably, Monday's choice of breakfast will impact Friday night's dinner choice, okay? This is how deep it can go. And we're literally scratching the surface. As scientists and everything like that, they're scratching the surface with regards to macros and micros and their impact on the body. We know load now compared to 10, 20, 30 years ago, but there's so much I don't think we'll ever understand. It's crazy. So first off, we've got protein, right? Protein, they're all valuable. All the macros are valuable, but I place a huge emphasis on protein because a lot of people don't consume enough protein to sustain what they want to achieve, okay? Now, this protein is found in your hair, your skin, muscles. It's structural, as in it creates the body and stuff like that. Only used for fuel when we're low on glycogen or fat availability. And it's an essential nutrient, meaning your body can't make all the proteins, amino acids needed to survive. So we've got to consume a source of protein, okay? We cannot have a diet that's low in protein. It's going to have a bad impact on the body. So if you don't replenish the amino acids, you lose muscle, okay? So you've got to make a choice, muscle protein synthesis or muscle protein breakdown. What I mean by that is, are you going to grow and sustain your muscles, or are you going to break it down and lose your muscle? And obviously we all know that we need muscle to support day-to-day living. Otherwise we end up looking like a slug on the floor. Now, if you don't replenish the amino acids, you lose muscle, all right? We're going to talk a little bit more about this in the way of if you're a non-meat eater, okay? Now, I'm not against this. I don't like bash people like that, but I'm pro meat eating for many reasons. Steak tastes amazing. But if you're not a meat eater, okay, there's a potential to become deficient in amino acid leucine, okay? This is an essential amino acid, which means the body doesn't produce it. So you've got to get it from somewhere, okay? Now, leucine stimulates protein synthesis and assists with muscle building. Very important. So like the other two BCAAs, branched chain amino acids, isoleucine and valine, leucine effectively stimulates protein synthesis, including skeletal muscle protein synthesis. So it's very much a vital part of the diet and our health, guys. So if you are a vegetarian who does not consume meat, when I say meat, I don't just mean chicken, steak, I mean fish, all meats, then you need to look at supplementing yourself or your diet with leucine, okay? Definitely something you need to look at if you are a vegetarian or vegan or a non-meat eater. Now, protein, what protein and what is best? The easiest way to answer this is to have a varied diet when it comes to protein sources. What I mean by that is don't live off chicken breast. You've got to have a good varied source of protein. So you're looking at eggs, fish, you're looking at all the meats, even veg contains proteins, beans, lentils, all that kind of stuff. It's good to have a nice mix of them all, okay? This will help you when it comes to getting the full range of amino acids, okay? So there's essential and non-essential amino acids. We won't go into it too deep, but the essential ones, we don't tend to produce. So we need to get them from somewhere. We need to source them from somewhere. And basically, this is to ensure you are absorbing and synthesizing the protein. So eat a balanced and varied diet of protein, guys. So we'll move on to carbs now, carbohydrates. So these come in the form of sugar and starch, and people get very confused with what a carb is. So these are used as a primary fuel source and should come primarily from fruits and vegetables, okay? But typically we prefer, I can't even talk anymore, prefer to gorge on highly processed foods and drinks, especially, is it Western countries, is that where we're claiming we live? Yeah, typically we live on that kind of crap rather than fruit and veg, which means we're often overfed and undernourished, right? So carbohydrates, as you can see in the picture, lots of fruit there, there's some veg there, there's some seeds, there's beans, there's all sorts there. There's a load of places you get carbs from, guys. So open your minds and realize that carbs are more than just an apple or some potatoes and rice. Right, moving on to fats. So we definitely need fat in our diet to live, okay? It's long been shown that our bodies need fats in our diet to live, to assist in the absorption of vitamins, to aid hormone regulation and brain function. Fats are important. So if you are of the mindset that if you want to lose body fat, you need to eat less fat, you are highly mistaken, okay? You need fats to survive. Do not cut your fats out. You can reduce them somewhat if you're over consuming them, just like you can reduce your carbohydrate if you're over consuming them as well. So the best sources, like I said, with proteins and with carbs, a wide variety, varied, I can't say that word, varied diet of different sources. So we need a variety. Eating the same will potentially lead to deficiency. Like I said, with protein, it's the same for fats and basically carbs. So we should have a wide variety of all foods coming into our diet. Now, good and bad fats. This isn't a thing anymore, really. In my eyes, it's not a thing. Quantity is the issue, not whether it's a good or bad fat, okay? Look at the amount you're eating rather than the type of food you're eating, because that's where you're going to go wrong with fat gaining rather than fat loss. Any questions before we move into creating the calorie deficit, guys?
Me. Right, in terms of amino acids, you know I'm going to ask you loads of questions. I don't even know what you're laughing.
Carry on, carry on.
Like, I'm obviously, like, I don't eat any fish whatsoever. I literally cannot bring myself to do it.
Yeah.
So would I benefit from like a BCA sort of supplement, or like an omega, maybe like an omega 369 sort of tablet? Obviously, I can't do cod liver oil.
Look at supplementing with fish oils, but you may find you're not actually deficient. You just might be low in things. This is don't go to the extreme of what I'm saying with the deficiency. You could just be low. Okay. So you could always go and have your bloods tested or have your levels looked at to see if they're deficient, if there's any deficiencies there before you go supplementing.
Deficient then is folate, really, I think.
Yes, folate is a big thing. Yeah. So you can supplement with those things, and there's no issue with that at all.
Okay.
If you look at BCAAs, the supplement BCAAs,
yeah,
a lot of them contain a lot of other craps as well.
So is it better to take like an omega sort of tablet? Like, I can't do cod liver oil because if it smells of fish, then I'm just gonna, well.
There are flavoured ones out there now, ones that taste like lemon and stuff like that.
Is it? I'll have a look then. I'll have a look later.
If you're into lemon.
Yeah, I don't mind lemon.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, guys? Silence is golden. Okay, I'll take as a no. Right, creating a calorie deficit there. How to work out your calorie needs. Beautiful. Right, how do diets work for fat loss? There's a load of diets out there, loads of people supplying diets. I've listed a few here: Slimming World, Weight Watchers. There's the keto diet, the 5-2 diet, Clean 9, fasting, Atkins. There's literally hundreds. If you Googled it, you would come up with thousands and thousands of replies or results. Basically, all they do for results, if you're getting results on one of these, is they create a calorie deficit, okay? So all diets will work, but not all diets will work for you. You've got to find the one that'll fit with your lifestyle and will actually lead to you creating a calorie deficit. And this is seen, is it Weight Watchers or Slimming World that do the high carb ones, the low carb ones, and all sorts. Basically, they're trying to give you lots of options for you to try until you find the approach that works for you. All right, so how to do the math. Now this, you need to strap into this, guys, because it can go a bit deep. You can get a little confused. Hopefully you don't though. I'm hoping I've explained it easily now. Right, so let's say you need 2,000 calories to maintain your weight, right? And 3,500 calories equals a pound of fat, okay? This is in this simplistic form, okay? We're not going to get into the depths of burning fats and stuff like that. It's just that's this value. So if you took 500 calories less per day, as you can see the numbers there, 3,500 divided by 7, 500, you're going to have a calorie deficit. Right, so a more advanced method would be if you wanted to drop 21 pounds, you do 21 pounds times 3,500 equals that. If you had a wedding in 14 weeks, so 98 days, you would take that large amount of calories, divide that by 98 days, and it'll give you a 750 calorie daily deficit. So you need to take your maintenance calories and take that daily deficit off it. So the last method isn't taking into account anything that's personal. So your weight, your height, your age, anything like that, or your lifestyle. Faster weight loss doesn't equal worse rebound weight gain, okay? This is a bit of a myth now. Yes, typically if you go hard and fast and you lose weight really quickly, you could gain a lot of weight back afterwards, but that's normally because you stop following that approach and you go back to the way you were previously, which means you're consuming a load of calories again. So you will put weight on again. So fast versus slow weight loss there. So a larger deficit produces higher rate of fat loss, but some cut too many calories. Now this can become counterintuitive and not fun at all. If you are already a small person, by that I mean if you're short, if you're young, then large deficit would be brutal and very much unadvisable, because if you're going around 1,000 calories, even less, then you're not going to be able to enjoy food, you're not going to be able to socialize, you're going to be very limited on the choices available to you in order to stay in a calorie deficit. So long-term fat loss then. Now this is very dependent on you. Small deficits are easier to maintain and easier on the body. Larger are harder to stick to. However, larger equals quicker results, which means you get more faith in the process and can then be more effective. So you guys watching this now, some of you would have done the hard and fast approach with me, some of you would have done the slow and steady approach. And you'll understand that if you go slow and steady and you really are focused on wanting the results really fast, you're going to struggle to maintain it because you're going to question whether or not it's working. If you're doing the hard and fast, where you're going lower on the calories, you're going to see the results a lot faster, which means you got that initial buy-in, so you believe that the process is working for you. Now, performance and fat loss. Carly, you were asking basically about this. Bigger deficits will make training harder, especially if you're a performance athlete, okay? Training intensity can still drop in the gym. You'll need to ask the question, what's your main goal, fat loss or performance? Now, with myself and training, obviously I want to improve my fitness for the Ironman and everything like that, but I also don't want to gain a lot of weight. So I am up around maintenance calories, and I'm monitoring my weight on the scale. So if my weight drops, then I'll eat a little bit more. If my weight goes up a lot, then I look at what I've eaten. If I've gone overloads, then I'll just go back to my target. If I haven't, my weight's gone up, then I'll bring it down a little bit, okay? But basically, you got to monitor your training, monitor your intake, and try and tally them up. Tally them up? Yeah, I think that's the word. Make sure they kind of line up, basically. So you're not going to be undoing all the hard work by not replenishing your fuel sources and going out on a run. Typically, if you go on a run and it's normally an easy run for you and you're struggling, you need to look at your inputs. So your training is being affected by something, maybe sleep, maybe nutrition, stress, that kind of stuff. Right, lean muscle mass. So the larger the deficit, the more muscle you'll potentially lose, okay? And that's a big word here, potentially. So muscle is easier to use for energy. Now, more studies have been done on non-strength training or low protein candidates, right? But we'll talk a little bit about these studies anyway. Over time, it's shown that those that weren't doing strength training, if they were in a larger deficit, they were losing a lot more muscle mass, right? And the same goes for sleep. Sleep will have a bigger impact on this as well. And we may talk about this a little bit later, okay? But you need to remember, if your training isn't inclusive of strength training and you're in a huge deficit, you're definitely going to be placing your muscles at a bit of a risk of being lost. Okay, so your muscle fibers will be broken down for energy if you are in a huge deficit and not using them. Right, so calculating your BMI, your BMR, and your daily needs. So let's get into this. BMI, based on BMI equals weight divided by height. Okay, a BMI of 24.9 plus is classed as overweight. BMR, so your basal metabolic rate, is this. Okay, now if you want to write this down, feel free to write it down. That's fine. I'm not opposed to waiting for that. Right, so basically what you need to do is you work out your BMR, then you times it by your power factor. This is your physical activity level. So when it comes to your job, your work, not when it comes to exercise, okay? So this isn't including your exercise or taking that into account yet. So if you are someone that sits at a desk all day, literally doesn't move, then I would class you as non-active, occupational activity light. If you are someone that trains a lot, but still sits at the desk all day and doesn't do anything, then you could be moderately active, but occupationally light in activity. And you can see how it works there, guys, yes? So you take your BMR, times it by a PAL factor, and I'll give you maintenance calories. Right, so that just explains it a little bit more there, guys. So before I go on, I'll go over the easiest way to work out your number, right? This is what I use to calculate calories as a guideline for people when they're starting out with us, right? So you take your weight in pounds. Now, if you're a female, you times that number in pounds, you times that by 22, or if you're a male, you times it by 24. Now, then you take that figure and you times it by your PAL factor. And then once you've got that number, that is your maintenance calories. So I take that number then, and depending on the client, I'll either times it by 0.2 or 2.4, okay? And this will give you a deficit. That's your deficit number, which you then take off your maintenance calories number, and that gives you your target calories for a deficit. That, I find, is the most easiest way to do it, which is why I haven't dwelled too much on the slide that I've wrote here. This is just for you to see how deep it can go, how difficult it can seem, okay? But basically what I've just talked about then is the most simplistic way to work out your calories for maintenance and then create a deficit from that, all right? That simple, guys. Anyone need me to go over that a little bit more or not?
Can I just check, in terms of very active, would I be classed as very active on the non-occupational activity or moderately?
It depends how you class yourself doing work. If you'd say you are lightly active or moderate.
No, I mean like on the occupational activity,
yeah,
I said that I was moderate.
right.
So would I then be the 1.6 or the 1.7?
Yeah, you'd be either 1.6 or 1.7. It depends on how active you are. So if you are training daily or if you're doing long distances, then you could be the very active. But you play it by ear. You could use the 1.6, and then if it's not working in your favors and for the results you want, then you could do 1.7 and vice versa.
Right, okay.
So with you wanted to fuel your workouts, you could start with 1.7 and then see how it's going. If you start gaining weight, then you can go down to the 1.6.
Okay. No worries.
Any other questions on that, guys? Silence. Okay, we'll move on then. All right, finding your food ratio. There's a few ways you can work this, guys. But for protein, so the rule of thumb a lot of people do is between 1 and 1.7 times your body weight in kilograms. So you take your weight in kilos and you times it by between 1 and 1.7, all right? So for example, if you're training 4 times a week, you weigh 85 kilos, you're going to do 1.4 times 85, that gives you 119 grams of protein per day. Times that by 4 to get the calorie amount, and you're doing 476 calories of protein a day. It's not a lot, actually. So the rest then, the rest of your calories can then be divided between your carbs and fats. But remember, regardless of signed diet, 12-month weight change was greater in the most adherent. Okay, this was a study done by the International Journey of Obesity. So regardless of the approach, whether keto, vegan, whatever, the greatest weight change was seen in the ones that were most adherent. So the ones that had a diet they could stick to for the longest. So in reality, the ration doesn't matter for the weight loss as long as you stick to it. Okay. If you are looking at weight loss, which is what we're looking at here, it's all about maintaining the approach. Okay. Finding the approach you can maintain. Does anyone need me to keep that on for a little bit longer or not? If you do, say yes.
Yes, keep it on a second.
I will be uploading this as well once I've done all the editing and stuff, guys. It will be available on the website as well. Let me know when you're done, Carly.
I'm done.
Cool. Right. What devil work is this? Am I okay? All right. Aside from calories, everything will affect your weight loss. Okay, from sleep to altitude. Weighing yourself is just the means to test at that very moment. Okay. Many of you have seen now. If you take a different weighing scale, you could gain 10 pounds or lose 10 pounds within seconds. Okay, it's just a means of testing. So if you go to the toilet, you're going to lose weight. If you train hard, then you may weigh a bit more. Sleep less, and you'll see it affect your weight as well. If you eat late at night, or if you drink water during the night, that's going to have an effect on your weight also. Okay, so there's many things that will affect your weight aside from just calorie intake. So this here, can you all see that? Good. I'm going to take our silence as a yes. This shows the many things that influence people and weight gain. Okay. So as you can see, there's so many things out there that will influence you. There's intrinsic and extrinsic motivators and influences. Okay. There's many things that will have an impact on your weight, guys. So it's not just about the food intake. All right. So there are many possible factors at play. The reality is that even if you follow our advice absolutely by the letter to the T and stay perfectly on track 100% of the time, your weight, your body will still show fluctuations in weight. Okay, so bear in mind that that's different to body fat. Okay, your body weight is totally different measurement compared to body fat. So your weight can fluctuate hugely, even if you are doing every single thing that we outline as a guide to do to get fat loss. So these are just some of the things that can affect your weight. Okay, so salt intake leads to retaining more fluid. Hydration, the more hydrated you are, the more you can weigh. Glycogen stores, if you replenish your glycogen stores, this enhances physical activity and recovery, but adds to total body weight. So glycogen comes from carbohydrate intake, guys, just for you to know. The digestive tract, different foods take longer to digest, which means they hang around in your digestive tract longer and add more weight. For those that aren't sure what I mean by that, your intestines will be holding onto food for a little bit longer. Hormones, so around that time of the month, many ladies and men will find fluctuations in their body weight, and it's down to your hormones. You can't affect them, you can't change them, you shouldn't be trying to, guys, unless there's something wrong, of course. but that's totally not what we're talking about here.
So can I just check, what did you say about glycogen stores?
So if you replenish your glycogen store, so if you have like an intake of carbs, then this is going to help your physical activity and recovery, but it'll also add to your total body weight, because with glycogen storing comes fluids.
Okay, thank you.
I
Sorry.
believe the numbers were around, what, say 1 gram of carbohydrate needs 3 grams of water to be stored. Something silly like that, I can't remember.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's why it leads to, if you have a good refeed of carbs, that's why you gain weight. But it doesn't mean you gain.
I'm going to be heavier today.
Yes. Right, I'll move on, guys. So, talking about calorie deficit, right then. I love these slides. I get so caught up. So, say now you need 1,500 calories for weight loss. Typically, that's a 500 calorie deficit. So, 500 times 7 is 3,500 calories, which, if you remember, according to science, that's 1 pound of fat. Okay. So this, as you can see on the screen, would be ideal. If you can maintain 1,500 calories every day, you're going to be on it. You won't have any fluctuations in your weight, and you will achieve fat loss. Okay. But this is a typical dieter's week. Okay, you can see it's either Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday, where they have a huge spike in calorie intake, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, depending if it's lockdown or not. So if we take the same as before, the 1,500 calories is a weight loss deficit. 500 calories times 5 as opposed to 7 is 2,500 calories. So you're 1,000 calories short of the target to hit a pound of fat, according to the science. Okay. So add the extra 3,000 calories from the 2 binge days. 2,500 calorie deficit becomes 500 calorie surplus. So you are not going to lose weight or fat over that week. Okay. So let's have a look into this and see what we can do to adjust this and solve this problem. So we could look at applying fasting, doing refeed days or weekends rather than the binging. We could look at banking calories or creating larger deficits for 5 or 6 days. Okay, so like many people say, there's many ways to skin a cat, but you need to know what you are doing, otherwise the cat is probably going to bleed out in time. So we look at fasting. I'll explain fasting a little bit more. Okay, so fasting would typically create a large deficit for, well, you could use it to create a bigger deficit for the 5 or 6 days. Okay, so further reduction during the week. That's what I meant to say. Yes. So if you took an extra 500 calories off the 5 days, which you were typically on 1,500 calories, so taking it down to 1,000, that would give you an extra 5,000. What's that? No, I can't even do the maths. It'd give you 2,000 calorie deficit over the week. All right. So that's still with the 3,000 calories 2-day binging. But bear in mind, people don't tend to track when they're doing the binges, okay, when they're overindulging or consuming. So this approach might not be for everyone. Like I said earlier, going down to 2,000 calories is difficult, okay, and it's very limiting on what you can actually include in your diet. So if we did just 1 day of more calories, so 6 days of 500 calorie deficit, take into account the extra 1,500 calories on the Saturday, then you've got a 1,500 calorie total deficit. This might not be good enough to see the results you want, but it is still a deficit, which means your body fat will come down, your weight will come down, albeit a little bit slow. So what we could do is take them down even lower. This is just an example, by the way, guys. You can take them down lower on those 6 days, still having the day where you've got the calorie increase, but the extra 3,000 calorie deficit would then lead to a good deficit across the week, meaning you'd lose body fat in a little bit more of a timely fashion. So this would be similar to banking calories. If you've got a night out coming up, then you could reduce your calorie intake across the week or across a few days, depending on how many calories you need for that night. And what I'd suggest is you take them from your carbs, because well, you need your proteins and you need your fats, and you can reduce your carb intake for a few days without any harm. So did that make sense, guys? I went through it a little bit faster, and I apologize.
Yeah.
Could you just give an example of fasting? So do you mean like for a whole day, or?
It's totally up to you. So fasting it could be anything, because typically we all fast because we all go to sleep and we don't eat for maybe 6 to 8 hours. So that is fasting. All you're doing is creating a smaller window to eat in. That's all you're doing, is reducing the amount of hours you've got to eat your calories in. So if you think about it, we shouldn't really be able to eat as many calories, but I know some people will test that limit. So yeah, you could start your fast. No, you could stop your fasting around 10 in the morning, 12. You could go until 2 o'clock and then eat from 2 until 8. It's typically up to you when you prefer to eat, when you feel most hungriest. You've got to work it around your training. It's very much a personalized thing. Does that answer that question, or did I just like waffle on?
No, that's good, thank you.
Okay, good. Right, so we're going to talk about training and fat loss now. So fat loss without exercise, creating a deficit with training. So you're looking at NEAT. You can lose fat without exercise, but burning the calories is slower. There are many benefits of training, however, rather than just to create a deficit, you can look like a sack of spuds, or you could look like Lisa in the picture here. Now, Lisa, extremely lean here. This was on the foot shoot challenge. She was training very hard. She was dieting very hard. But you won't be able to look muscular if you're just dieting and not doing any training. Okay, that's basically what I mean by looking like a sack of spuds. You will just lose weight and fat and muscle. You just everything. Okay, so if you want to look good, look great, look fit, look healthy, then you need some form of training, including resistance-based stuff. For those that don't know, NEAT is non-exercise associated thermogenesis. Basically, it's stuff you do which burns calories outside of training. So this comes from fidgeting to walking to breathing, everything. Okay, working, all sorts. And you've got to bear in mind that does create a big calorie deficit as well as the training, but you need the training as well, guys. No. Application. Knowing and not doing is the same as not knowing. I love that saying. Everyone could know everything, but unless they put it into practice, you may as well not know anything. So how to get results, right? Tracking. Now, before I go on to this, if you look at the picture, you'll see everyone seems to focus on weight loss, right? But focusing on weight loss does not get you weight loss alone. It's like focusing on money to get more money. You need to focus on earning more money. So this is what we're doing here. We'll focus more on the energy balance, macronutrients, micronutrients, meal timings, supplements, and that will get you the weight loss or the fat loss, okay? By focusing on the stuff that will create that result rather than just focus on the result. So on to tracking then. So you got all these things you can track with. So you got MyFitnessPal, you can do your measurements, scale weight, you can use body fat calipers, you can use progress photos, you can use your clothes. There's loads of ways of tracking your progress, okay? The main thing that people forget is they need to be consistent though. Motivation gets you started, determination will keep you going. Knowing your starting point, knowing your targets, knowing your goal. Now we need to come up with a strategy to get you there. So there's no point saying I want to be 5 stone lighter if there's no real true want and desire for it. Okay, you've really got to want the results. Okay, don't just sit there and be like, oh yeah, I want to lose 5 stone, but you don't want it that badly that you will actually work for it. You're not willing to work for it. I love this picture. So reality of progress, guys. I put this up ages ago actually. So clothes are looser, get stronger, feel more energetic. You can focus on these things, or you can just focus on the scale. Okay, and focus on the scale typically can lead to people feeling a bit down and getting a bit anti about themselves when they, at the same time, their clothes are looser, they are stronger, and they're feeling more energetic. But they kind of push those feelings and those achievements to the side. So let's have a look here. So what factors are important to adherence? So results, obviously. If you're getting results, you're going to stick to it for longer. It's got to be easy to stick to. It's got to be enjoyable. It's got to fit with your lifestyle. It needs to minimize the hunger, okay? So if you have got a diet which is got you eating foods which are high in calories but low in volume, you're going to struggle with hunger. You've got to be motivated. There's not a one-size-fits-all plan. It's got to be easy to understand, and finally, it needs to be flexible, okay? What I mean by that is you've got to be able to enjoy life. You've got to be able to, if you need to go out for a night out, or if you've got a meal coming up because it's someone's birthday, you've got to be able to do those things and still get the progress. So, consistency. If it took years to get fat, or to gain the fat, why insist on taking a few weeks to drop the weight, okay? You need to work in averages here. So this could be calories over a day, over a week, it could be steps over a week, weight over a week, etc. You could drag it out. You could do average of a month of calories. If you're in a deficit over a month, then in 12 months time, you would lose weight if you're in a deficit for each month. You could have some weeks in that a month where you're over your calories and then other weeks where you're under. As long as you're in a calorie deficit over the month, then you're going to progress. But that is looking at it from a big picture. So weight will fluctuate. Your energy will fluctuate. As you can see on the screen, sleep fluctuates and stress fluctuates. You can't expect consistency with all these things, okay? Nothing is going to be in a straight line. And you'll see that now. So the blue line on this graph represents ideal weight loss. The red line is the actual weight loss, and you can see here the fluctuation. So first there's a big drop, then there's a little plateau, then there's a drop again, then a little gain, then the weight loss ensued. This is typical of a dieter, okay? Someone that's doing well, right? Doing everything that needs to be done, but the body weight is going to show different things, okay? On the whole, this person lost a good amount of weight over a few weeks. But if they would focus on losing weight consistently every single day, they would get disheartened about it and probably stop following the dieting approach. So any questions or anything like that, guys? No. Oof, God, okay. Right.
No.
Cool, cool, cool. Right, so what I'm going to do now is put up the pictures from the start of this and show you the actual numbers. So if you did get anywhere close to these numbers, guys, let me know. And if you thought there was a big difference, let me know, okay? So as you can see, the almonds and the fruit pastels, exactly the same amount of calories. And then you look at the crisps compared to what is the healthy stuff, which is like beetroots and all that, the vegetable crisps. Crisps are lower in calories there than the vegetable stuff, which is sold as healthy. The water versus strawberry water, huge difference in calories, guys. So if you are drinking flavored water, bear that in mind. And then the same with the Starbucks, white Americano, a typical coffee, 45 calories, and flat white, 290 calories, okay? Huge difference. If you're having one of those every day, it can have a huge impact on your weight loss or weight gain. Solero versus a Magnum, big difference. I love Solero. And then finally, we've got the toast and toast with butter on it, okay? So these are the things that people don't realize will have an impact on their weight loss or their fat loss. Is anyone close to those numbers?
I had the Solera one only because I saw a post the other day that's like on Instagram, the top of my feed, where people put like under 100 cal ice lollies, and that was one of them.
Oh yeah. Twister will be another one.
On their Twisters, yeah.
This is amazing. Cool, guys.
I would say off for the Magnum.
All right, so that is it, guys. Okay, it's a brief outline or brief overview of it all. Lots of information just got shouted at you, so I apologize.